I got one question. I just got one question, y'all. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but among P. Diddy's lawyers sitting in that room, whose decision was it to say, let's call Cassie's bluff and see if she going to file that lawsuit?
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bout his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believing high level represent. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.
What's good, what's good, what's good, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Call Your First Witness. It's your boy, K-Will, checking in. Episode 10, man. I'm so excited, y'all. Your boy made it. With all y'all support, all y'all love, your boy made it to episode 10, man. I can't believe it. It hasn't even been 6 weeks, and I've been growing, all because of the help of you, your support, your love, sharing, liking, downloading on the podcast. I really, really appreciate y'all, man. And here we go, man. Let's get it. Let's jump right into this, y'all. I'm going to switch it up on y'all today. I got something new for you. You know what I'm coming with. You know what I'm coming with. Some of my followers were like, listen, I need to hear from you about this subject matter. And here I come, y'all. P. Diddy. Let's talk about it. So, most of you have heard. If you haven't, it's all good. Spend a little time with me. I'm going to break it down for you. So, basically, I've been kind of watching this case from afar, y'all. I ain't going to lie. My podcast, Call Your First Witness, we cover all things criminal law. So all the civil lawsuits involving P. Diddy, I'm kind of paying attention to it. I'm hearing about it. I'm conversing about it with friends and family. You know how it be at the kitchen room table, maybe Thanksgiving dinner. We talking about the Cassie lawsuit. We talking about the drip effects of all these other lawsuits. But I'm like, you know what? It will be an interesting topic, but it hasn't rose to the level of a criminal matter yet. You dig? However, we already know March 25th of this year, things change. You saw the pictures, you saw the news, you saw the videos, raids, law enforcement raids on P. Diddy's homes in LA and in Miami, right? So let's break this down, how we got here. All right, I always say, listen, this podcast, I know I cover legal topics, but what I do not want to get in the habit of is criticizing lawyers, right? Like that's just a fundamental belief that I have. I don't want to be second judging lawyers in their judgment. I don't want to be Monday morning quarterback talking about, man, why she did this, why he did that. That's not what I'm here for. Because at the end of the day, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know how this thing gonna play out. I done made decisions in the past as a lawyer that I want back, right? We're not perfect lawyers. Everything ain't gonna play out perfectly to our client's benefit. I never forget, I read A Lawyer's Life book written by Johnny Cochran. And he said, listen, I don't want to critique lawyers when they in trial because they in the fray, right? I'm in the cheap seats saying, oh, this how this should have went down. Nah, man, you in the cheap seats. So generally speaking, unless it's something really, really egregious like Chris Darden, why would you make OJ put on these gloves when you don't even know if they're going to fit? Right? Like, unless it's something crazy like that, I'm going to kind of leave it alone because I'm not in the trenches with you. So I don't know what were the circumstances when that decision was made. But I got one question. I just got one question, y'all. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But among P. Diddy's lawyers sitting in that room, whose decision was it to say, let's call Cassie's bluff and see if she going to file that lawsuit? I just want to know who made that decision. Who made that executive decision to say, you know what? Let's see if she going to file this lawsuit. Let's just see. Let's wait and see. Because you don't need me to tell you, that was the catalyst for all this situation to come about. The fact that we got raids, we got Homeland Security involved, we got federal agents all in P. Diddy's house. We got all this going on, his kids handcuffed, detained. This situation going on, we could point to one lawsuit, which was the impetus for all this. And that was Cassie's lawsuit. Let's keep it 100. Who made that decision and said, look, Let's just wait and see. And maybe it wasn't the lawyer's decision. Maybe the lawyers got outvoted by, I don't know, P. Diddy, somebody close to P. Diddy. Like, look, man, Cassie ain't gonna file his lawsuit. Man, she been talking that cash money shish. She ain't gonna file his lawsuit. Yeah, she coming with a lot of demand. She saying she gonna do this. She saying she gonna do that, but she ain't really about it. She ain't gonna really want to air her business out like that, not in the public. Man, this go back many, many, many years. That's a scary game of Russian roulette you playing. And the reason why I'm saying it had to have been a bad decision, Cassie filed the lawsuit in federal court on November 16th, right? The next day, they settled. Some of you heard of this. The very next day, that case settled. So what that meant was P. Diddy and his team, they didn't have a problem with settling the case. They must have weren't convinced that she actually was going to file a lawsuit. So let me break it down. So there is this law. It's called the Adult Survivors Act out of New York. All right. I'm licensed in New York to practice law. I practice in New York. I know I don't sound like a New Yorker. Your boy is based in New Orleans. You heard me. So, but real talk, I'm familiar with New York law. Their law is very, very different than Louisiana law. I'm licensed in both states. Your boy get around. But look, this particular act essentially says, look, for all the survivors of sexual assault, sex trafficking, all those horrific incidents, if the statute of limitations prescribed on those actions, meaning you well past the deadline to file your lawsuit, we're going to give you a window of opportunity to file this lawsuit, right? But it's only for people 18 years or older. The law was enacted in May of 2022, and it gave victims a window from November 24, 2022 to November 24, 2023. That's your window, right? If you file your claim for sexual assault outside that window, your lawsuit is forever barred. And so as a result of this New York law, over 3,000 claimants filed the lawsuit, right? Sexual assault, sexual abuse, sex trafficking, anything along those lines, they had to file that claim within that window. And guess who one of the claimants were? Casandra Ventura. We know of her as Cassie. She filed on November 16, 2023. You remember, some of you may have remembered, this was around right before Thanksgiving, because I remember being at the Thanksgiving table among family, and we were talking about this lawsuit. Again, civil claim. But what's interesting about it, as I said, and many of you already know, that matter was settled the very next day. So to me, that meant the parties were already in negotiation to settle this matter, right? So let me break this down for you. So I know on my podcast, I talk mainly about criminal defense matters, but your boy got a civil practice also. I do criminal defense, I do civil. I do personal injury, I do police brutality, and sometimes I do defense work. In other words, let's say my client was at his home and he got into a fight and somebody got injured, and then that person who got injured filed a lawsuit against my client, right? I will come in and defend my client. Let's say they'll file a lawsuit against my client's homeowner insurance. I will come in and defend my client. And as a criminal defense attorney, my experience in that realm helps me out on the civil side, right? And so as a defense lawyer, we know what the time delays for filing the lawsuit is. So we'll sit back knowing let's say you got a year to file your lawsuit, we just sit back and wait, right? Even if we're in negotiation with the plaintiff trying to resolve it, we'll just sit back and say, all right, I know. Let's see if they're going to file this lawsuit. Because when they file a lawsuit, that lets you know they're serious about this case. So I don't know what happened. I wasn't in the room, obviously, but I believe there had to been some back and forth among Cassie's team and P. Diddy's team trying to work this thing out, and something blew up. Something had to blow up because Cassie had to file a lawsuit, and the day after they settled. So it couldn't have been a situation where P. Diddy's team were like, look, just let us sue. Like, Her number's too high. She's asking for too much. We just going to have to fight this in court. It couldn't have been that situation because they settled the next day. So that tells me they had to call Cassie's bluff. They really didn't believe that Cassie was going to file this lawsuit. She proved them wrong. Who made that decision? I don't know. Right? But that was the first drip. That was the first drip, y'all, because after that was November 16th, and after that, there were more lawsuits, civil lawsuits that were launched against P. Diddy. More lawsuits. Jane Doe, you probably heard of that person. They're not disclosing their identity, but Jane Doe filed a lawsuit in the Southern District. Now, y'all, let me tell y'all about the Southern District. The Southern District encompasses Manhattan and the Bronx. It's a federal courthouse, and you can file federal claims in that courthouse. Now, pay attention to the Southern District because the Southern District is the same court that has jurisdiction over executing these search warrants on P. Diddy's homes, right? So you got Jane Doe filing a lawsuit. Drip, drop, drippity drop. And all of a sudden, come late February, you got Rodney Jones filing a lawsuit, right? In the Southern District. Now, y'all, Rodney, what they call him, Lil Rod? Lil Rod filed a 73-page lawsuit, y'all. Y'all, that's a book. That's a book. Lil Rod, because you got to understand, it started with Cassie, then all of a sudden, Pandora's box opened. Now you got Jane Doe and you got other claimants, and then Lil Rod came late February and said, holla at your boy, I got a book for you. 73 pages. He done copied and pasted pictures on his complaints, alleging he was threatened, drugged, forced to commit sexual acts. And somewhere in there, he's saying, by the way, P. Diddy also owe me money. He also owed me some money. Yeah, I was an ex-producer for the company. P. Diddy also owed me my money. I need my money too. But look, let's talk about these RICO statutes. Let's talk about this sex trafficking statute. Like, you would think, if you look at that complaint, you would think a U.S. attorney drafted that lawsuit, y'all. I mean, it cites a whole bunch of criminal statutes. Again, I wasn't in a room. I wasn't privy to conversations. But, man, it's almost like Lil Rod was like, oh, that's what y'all doing? Y'all settling? That's what y'all doing? Cassie filed a lawsuit. Y'all settled the very next day? I got something for you. And I got receipts, right? I got receipts. I got pictures. Y'all, when you file a complaint in federal court, you're not required to attach pictures. You're not required to incorporate pictures in your demand. That's not a requirement. Why does Lil Rod got all these pictures incorporated in his demand, in his lawsuit? Y'all, he playing both games. He filing it in court and he trying his case in the media. He letting P. Diddy and his team know, I got receipts. And real talk, y'all, because pictures are not evidence. Those pictures are not evidence. It doesn't prove anything. Just like anything else. If you're going to prove anything, it got to come from the witness stand. And let me say this, y'all. I'm going to get this out the way. Some of y'all getting to know who I am. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I'm not casting any judgment on anybody involved, right? I'm a defense lawyer, so I probably might be slanted on the defense side, but I don't know what happened. I'm not privy to what happened. We don't know what happened, so I'm going to just sit back and wait. Right? I'm not going to make any judgment. I don't know what happened. Your boy going to sit back and wait. Because let me tell you something. A complaint, a civil lawsuit is just a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper. Even an indictment, if somebody's indicted, that's just a piece of paper. Right? You can indict a ham sandwich. Real talk. And if you in New Orleans, let's call it a po' boy. If you in Harlem, let's call it a chopped cheese sandwich, right? That's how it doesn't take much to indict somebody. So the fact that a lawsuit was filed and you got a lawyer signing their name off of it, it doesn't prove anything. Even if P. Diddy is indicted, and we're not at that point. But he is a subject of investigation. Now, how we got here? Remember, Cassie's lawsuit was the first drip. And then you had other plaintiffs filing in the Southern District. Drip, drop, drip, drippity drop. Man, it remind me of that song. Y'all remember that song on Empire? don't act like you don't remember that song. Drip, drop, drip, drippity drop. That song used to go hard. But real talk, like drip, drop, lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit. It all started. Next thing you know, you in a hailstorm. It's like Niagara Falls up in here, bruh. You got Homeland Security, federal agents, local law enforcement coming military style all up in your home. In LA and in Miami, you got your kids in handcuffs. Which one of y'all were playing with Cassie? Let's just keep it a buck. Who decided, man, I don't think she gonna file that lawsuit because it's real serious right now. It's real serious. So how did we get to this point? Well, look no further. These lawsuits, you have a whole bunch of claims, but I believe the Fed said, look, wait, hold up. I understand Rodney Jones, Lil Rod, he's saying he didn't get paid for his services. But I'm looking at these incidents involving being forced to have sex. And then I'm looking at Jane Doe's complaint. She was 17 when she said she was forced to have sex across state lines. I'm looking at sex trafficking. Lil Rod is asserting RICO statutes. He's asserting sex trafficking. These are federal crimes. That's why you got Homeland Security involved. Folks like, man, hold up. This a terrorist attack? What's going on? No. Homeland Security protects the borders. There's a heavy emphasis on sex trafficking. That's their jurisdiction every day of the week. So that's why you got them going into homes, right? So this serious business right now. And so in order to get into P. Diddy's homes to execute a search warrant, all you need is probable cause, right? So a federal agent and a U.S. attorney presents that application for a search warrant to either a federal magistrate or a federal judge. And all you need to do is show probable cause. What does probable cause mean? All you have to show is reasonable and trustworthy information that a person is committing a crime. That's it. So we don't have access to this search warrant. I believe it's sealed, but all the U.S. attorney had to present was reasonable and trustworthy information that somebody was committing a crime, whether it be P. Diddy or somebody associated with P. Diddy. All they have to do is present that and say, we believe that evidence is in P. Diddy's homes, right? And in these complaints, in these lawsuits, they talk about videos and pictures that are in the possession of P. Diddy. So they going to get all that, right? And so that's all they needed. I don't know how much information they have. We know when the feds come, they come. I mean, they ain't playing around. They coming with the full extent of the law. They do their homework. And that's why you got a situation where no, P. Diddy is not indicted. He's not charged, but they doing their homework. They doing their due diligence. You see what I'm saying? But I believe this all stemmed from all these lawsuits. And what I read was some of the claimants, some of the plaintiffs in those lawsuits were interviewed by federal agents. Right? So this series, we done went from the civil realm, right, to the criminal world. It's a totally different ball game when we talking about criminal law. And the biggest difference is the standard, the burden. And when you're in civil court, all you have to prove, all the plaintiff has to prove is by a preponderance of evidence. But if you're in criminal court, the government has to prove that the defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, y'all. That's the highest judicial standard ever conceived on the face of the earth. I mean, that's a high standard. When you're talking about a civil case, you're talking about a preponderance of the evidence. So you're only looking at the weight, and all it got to be is slightly more, maybe 50%, just 50 plus 1/10%. And if you're the plaintiff, you win your case. But in criminal, it's much higher. And the reason beyond that is you got freedom on the line. You got somebody's freedom at stake. I'll never forget a colleague of mine. We had a case. She was the defense lawyer. I was the plaintiff's lawyer. And we were just getting to know each other. You know what I mean? A lot of times that happens. We get to know each other. And she used to be a prosecutor for New Orleans. But eventually she became a defense lawyer doing civil work. But before she was doing civil work, she was a prosecutor. And she said one of the main things she realized was, when she made the transition from criminal court to civil court, she was like, man, all we doing over here is fighting over money? Like, that's it? Like, I done spent years fighting as a prosecutor, and you had somebody's freedom online. You had to make sure you knew your case and you had the evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And I wanted to make sure if I was going to convict this person, I had enough evidence to convict this person because I didn't want to convict the wrong person. And so when I made the transition in the civil realm, it just felt like, oh, we doing all this fighting, all this bickering, all this back and forth over money? That's how serious it is when you're talking about somebody's freedom, and that's why the standard is so high. And we know, even though the standard is high, American courts still get it wrong. You got folks still going to prison for the rest of their life, and they innocent. Now listen, as you know, no charges launched against P. Diddy. I mean, they just went in the house. They came out of there with cell phones, with all kind of electronic data, laptops, all kind of stuff. So I anticipate they're going to comb through that with a fine-tooth comb and do their due diligence. So you may not hear about this for a little while. Or maybe they may decide not to even indict P. Diddy. I don't know. We don't know how much evidence they got. But one thing we know, P. Diddy's on with a legal team. We know he got the resources. He don't need me to advise him, but all I would tell him is keep your head up. Don't try to try your case in the news, right? Don't worry about the court of public opinion. He's already convicted if we're talking about the court of public opinion. He done. But at the end of the day, like I say, in all my cases, and we know the feds come with it. We know of the feds having a 90% conviction rate, all that kind of stuff. But I need to remind folks, the feds ain't above reproof. No, they not perfect. They ain't out here walking on water. Give me 12 people. At the end of the day, give me 12 people. If P. Diddy put his head down and say, y'all, man, I'm done, man. Every network, every outlet got negative things to say about me, man. I don't know how I can get above this. Man, 12 people. That's what it's going to come down to, 12 people. Don't try to try your case in the court of public opinion. Nah, don't do that. And we know P. Diddy got enough money to make sure he got the best defense attorneys in the world. But I tell you one thing, I know he wish he had Johnny Cochran. I know he wish Johnny Cochran was here. And I'm not saying that just because Johnny Cochran was a dog. I'm not just saying that. But Johnny Cochran represented P. Diddy. Oh, my bad. He represented Puffy. Johnny Cochran represented Puff Daddy back in 1999. Remember the incident in 1999? The shooting at the club in New York? Remember that? P. Diddy, not P, my bad, Puffy. He was Puffy at the time. Puffy was with J-Lo, Shine. Remember Shine? All that went down in New York City, man. Puffy was charged with, I think, attempted murder. They were saying he was in the club shooting at about 3 people. Jury came back not guilty. Guess who was at the helm? You already know, Johnny Cochran. May he rest in peace. Yeah. P. Diddy walked up out of there unscathed. Even Shine had to do time. But Mr. Cochran didn't represent Shine. He represented P. Diddy. So I heard of Baron Dyer. I see that he's very experienced in white-collar crimes. I have no doubt that he's equipped for the task. But there's only one Johnny Cochran. But anyway, man, at the end of the day, it's about 12 people. There's a guy, I'm going to leave y'all with this. There was a guy by the name of Brendan Paul. Pay close attention to Brendan Paul. While all these raids were happening in P. Diddy's home, the same day Brendan Paul was arrested. Low-level felonies. It was alleged that he was in possession of candy laced with cocaine and laced with marijuana, right? But Brendan Paul is alleged to be an associate of P. Diddy, right? Brendan Paul and Lil Rod's lawsuit. Lil Rod talked about a lot in his 73-page lawsuit. He even talked about the incident back in 99 at the club when Puffy was with J-Lo. He referenced that, page 25, 26. He took that thing all the way back. He said in his lawsuit, P. Diddy was bragging about it, saying, yeah, man, I got these guns, man. I got away with shooting somebody in the club back in 99 when I was with J-Lo. Now, is it all true? You already know your boy is skeptical. You already know. But we're going to wait and see. But in this lawsuit, Lil Rod also referenced Brendan Paul. Brendan Paul is alleged to be an associate of P. Diddy. Brendan Paul allegedly is P. Diddy's mule. So he was arrested, low-level charges, drug charges. He bonded out, but don't be surprised if Brendan Paul is a subject of the investigation, right? And let me tell you something. Don't be surprised if Brendan Paul gets a call from the federal agents and the U.S. attorney, man, come sit down and chat with us. Yeah, I know about those chats. I got one coming up next Wednesday. They call you into the office. You sitting down with the federal agents, the U.S. attorney, and they got a whole PowerPoint presentation laying out to you what type of evidence they have against your client. And at the end of that presentation, they're not going to tell you precisely, but in so many words, they're going to say, listen, you got a choice. You either going to be a witness or a defendant. And so pay close attention to Brendan Paul, because I wouldn't be shocked if your boy come out there singing. Yeah, so this thing going to be interesting. Again, P. Diddy, no charges. And we're going to leave it at that, y'all. And you already know I'm going to pay close attention to it. Stay tuned in. Again, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Y'all, look me up on Instagram. My handle is Kenneth M. Willis. Look me up. Follow me. I post not only about my podcast, but I post about my trials and my experiences practicing law, y'all. Keep telling folks about me. Please like this video, y'all. Subscribe. Download on podcasts. I'm on all major platforms. Again, I appreciate the love. Y'all be looking for me soon. Take care. Later.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bout his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believing high level represent. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.